So you want to steal from these artists if you want to play country music and become a proficient chicken picker, proficient country guitar player. Obviously, you want to listen to the people who move your soul the most, learn from them, figure out their licks, their styles, their tendencies. But in this video, we're going to talk about the guitar players that you really should dive into. This is kind of like a textbook of country music, chicken picking, and ranges from the 50s all the way up to present. So if you really want to master the art of twanging on a telecaster over 3 chords and the truth, you need to follow these guys and girls and learn from them. Take their licks, steal their techniques, steal their licks, their sounds, and make them your own. So let's get into it. If you're interested, I do have a Spotify playlist in the description box below that I have grabbed my favorite tracks off of the albums that we're going to discuss today, put them there in a Spotify playlist for you to enjoy. So go check that out and add it to your library if you're interested. Let's get on with the video. First up is Brad Paisley. Brad Paisley is one of my personal favorite guitar players of all time and my favorite guitar player for the country music genre. He has been on the scene since the 90s and he's only recently started to slow down a little bit, but he has a tremendous amount of work. I've put up 4 albums on the screen here, and they are Who Needs Pictures, Mud on the Tires, Fifth Gear, and Play. Fifth Gear was my first true Brad Paisley album that I remember listening to when I was in high school. But these are my favorite Brad Paisley albums. Every Brad Paisley album, you can literally listen to any track and it's going to sound absolutely incredible. So I highly recommend all of them. But if I was going to boil it down to 4, it would be these ones. Who Needs Pictures is his first and arguably most traditional country music. Kind of harks back towards those new traditional early 50s, 60s sounds. And it still has that Brad Paisley comedic humor, both from lyrically, situationally, and musically, of course. But I think the penultimate Brad Paisley album is Play. He has a lot of cool guests on there, Keith Urban and B.B. King to name a few. But his song Chicken Pickin', I think, is the ultimate country guitar playing song that you should learn. It's really hard, but you should learn it because you'll learn so much from so many other guitar players too. A lot of other guests that we're going to go over today played on that one record. Finally won Brad Paisley his Grammy. I believe it was a Grammy for Best Instrumental. So anyways, check out those 4 albums. They are filled with country goodness. Next up is Brent Mason. Brent Mason is also one of my top favorite guitar players of all time. Number 2 place in the country music scene for me. Maybe this list is in order, maybe it's not. I can't remember how I did it. But Brent Mason is definitely number 2. He's been on thousands of different records. If you go to All Music, you can see how many that he's accredited to. He started in the 90s and he hasn't shown any signs of stopping. It might even been the late 80s. But he's still to this day playing on your hit records coming out of Nashville. Some of Brent Mason's most iconic guitar albums are Alan Jackson's A Lot About Livin' and A Little About Love. That's the song with Chattahoochee on it. Brooks and Dunn's Brand New Man, which includes Brand New Man, Neon Moon, and my personal favorite, Boot Scootin' Boogie. And then, of course, Shania Twain's Come On Over, which includes Man, I Feel Like a Woman, which I think everybody who loves country music loves that song. And then, of course, there's Brent Mason's solo album, which is Hot Wired. The title track off that album is absolutely insane. It's him and Paul Franklin just going and playing some shredding pedal steel and lead Telecaster lines. So go check out those songs. Next, we're going to talk about Roy Nichols. Roy Nichols is known as Merle Haggard's guitar player. Most of you guys are probably familiar with Roy Nichols. I don't have to talk much about him other than listen to every single Merle Haggard record you can get your hands on because there is Telecaster country gold smeared all over them. Here are some of my favorites, but your favorite Merle Haggard record will do just fine. Just learn some Roy Nichols licks and you will be off to the races with playing country music. Next up is James Burton, who undoubtedly is one of the best Telecaster pickers of all time and arguably probably started the modern, well, I say modern, but neo-traditional, traditional country guitar chicken picking style. He played on every thing from Elvis Presley, and there's a cat. Here's Ray. He played on a ton of Elvis Presley songs. Emmylou Harris's Luxury Liner. I love that song, and the whole album's great, but that song in particular is fantastic. He played on Graham Parsons' album Grievous Angel, which, Graham Parsons from the Byrds, fantastic album. And he also played with Ralph Mooney. He did a Chicken Pickin' Country and then a Pedal Steel album, which is incredible as well. Do yourself some favor, learn some James Burton records and licks, and you will be a chicken pickin' master. Next up is Clay Cook. Now, Clay Cook, if you don't know, is one of the guitar players for the Zac Brown Band. Love him or hate him, I absolutely love the guitar playing on the Zac Brown Band records, especially You Get What You Give, Caged, and the Pass the Jar, which is live from the Fox Theater down in Georgia. The song off of You Get What You Give, but more importantly, the song off of Pass the Jar, which is the live version of Who Knows, is a jammy 11, 12-minute country, smothered country guitar riffage with fiddle going and Clay Cook just absolutely ripping it. So if you haven't listened to that album, go listen to that live album, because Zac Brown Band, I mean, they were incredible back then. Their music's been all over the place kind of in the last couple records. I think the last record actually sounding good, and it's going back to the roots. But Clay Cook has always been a monster. So much, in fact, the song No Such Thing by John Mayer, which is off of the album Room for Squares, was actually written by Clay Cook. He collaborated with John Mayer a lot in John's early days. I'm not sure if they do it much anymore or not, but I thought that was a fun fact, because Clay Cook has literally been all over the place, and he is an incredible guitar player. John Osborne is next of the brothers Osborne, Maryland, Dewey, Maryland, or Boone, Maryland. Native. Listen to any Brothers Osborne records and you will know he is an incredible guitar player. I've done a couple of videos on this channel about John Osborne already. Of course, all the Brothers Osborne records are incredible for learning John Osborne licks. But also, for y'all who didn't know, he also helped work on some session work with Maren Morris and Little Big Town. So go check out some of those albums. John Osborne is an incredible guitar player. I think my third favorite country guitar player of all time. It's just really getting back to those neo-traditional honky-tonk riffs, and he just sounds incredible. The man who probably needs no introduction ever since his debut with Justin Timberlake at the CMAs is Chris Stapleton. He's been racking up award ceremonies. He's a great guitar player. But for y'all who didn't know, he was also in a bluegrass band, the Steel Drivers, before he got his big break in 2015 as a solo artist. He's been on tons of different records before then, and writers' rounds. He wrote a ton of your favorite songs, like from Garth Brooks and stuff like that. Garth Brooks, Tim McGraw. Chris Stapleton wrote a lot of those songs, but he's an incredible guitar player as well. I think we all know that. Any Chris Stapleton song is a good song to learn on the guitar, and it's a good song that I'm going to probably enjoy and listen to anyway. So go check out more Chris Stapleton. Next up is Keith Urban. Now, everybody knows Keith Urban, I think, for the most part, but Keith Urban really is a monster guitar player, especially on his earlier stuff. More late stuff has been a little bit more poppy. Country music is transitioning, that's okay. But check out some of his earlier albums, especially from the Golden Road. There is some solid chicken picking stuff, and that is Keith Urban playing. He doesn't really, I think he has a lead guitar player in his band now because he's more focused on the show and singing and whatnot. But Keith Urban really can rip the guitar. So check out some of his earlier stuff. Because they are chicken picking, and then some of his more mid 2000 stuff is more rocking. So really cool sounds that he can get out of his instrument. And cool thing, if you have a Fractal, I have the FM9. One of Keith Urban's amps is an amp that is in the Fractal unit. So if you're a Fractal unit and you like Keith Urban, it's a double whammy. Keith has been really cool to the Fractal audio community as well. Next up is a name that a lot of new players probably aren't familiar with, but it's Don Rich, who is a lead guitar player for Buck Owens, who Brad Paisley cites as the reason that he is the guitar player that he is today is because of Buck Owens. Songs like Tiger by Your Tail, Buckaroo, just a wealth and and vast knowledge of the Bakersfield sound, that traditional honky tonk from the late 50s and 60s. Go check out any Don Rich song. Go check out, I'm going to say 99% of Buck Owens songs are going to have Don Rich on them, at least up until the 70s when he passed away. They are incredible. It is a country gold mine, his playing. You will not be disappointed. You'll be like, how have I never heard of this guy? Don Rich. Don Rich, Buck Owens, and the Buckaroos. Just great, great music all around. Next up, we have Red Volkart. Red Volkart is known as a prolific telecaster player, not really known for playing on a whole lot of different records that are commercialized, but he is one incredible guitar player. I believe he played in Don Kelly's band as well. Let me make sure that's right. If you don't know who Don Kelly is, look him up. He is a Nashville guy who puts together the best country guitar players, and they play a lot at Robert's Western World down on Broadway. Been around forever. A lot of incredible country music players. A lot of players on this list have played in his band, so go check him out. Go listen to some Red Volkart songs. They are chicken picking, smothered hot licks that I think everybody needs to learn. And if you're interested, he also has a lot of courses on like True Fire and stuff like that. So you can learn from the master himself. A great way to learn some country guitar, chicken picking. The traditional stuff that makes you go, yeah, now I feel like a guitar slinger on the country circuit. Next up is Vince Gill. While Vince Gill has a tremendous solo career in the 90s and early 2000s, he's been playing with the Eagles lately. You're playing with the Eagles, you must be an incredible guitar player. But my favorite, though, is his record with Paul Franklin. It is just country. I want to say country gold, but I feel like I've said that so often. Paul Franklin, for those who don't know, is the best pedal steel guitar player in the world, in the history of the world, and it will never be another. He is just magical on the pedal steel. So him and Vince Gill just produced some of the greatest country songs and sounds that I've ever heard. Albert Lee, we have our first non-American here on the list. Or maybe Red might be Canadian, but I can't remember. Anyways, Albert Lee is a fantastic guitar chicken picker from Britain. Great Britain, England, over there, overseas. Plays a lot of it on a Strat, or now I guess it's Ernie Ball signature, but it is classic country sounds. Albert Lee, great singer, great guitar player. Check out these records and you'll be blown away. John Jorgensen is another fairly unknown guitar player, which is a shame because he is 1/3 of an incredible band called the Hellcasters, a bunch of session guys. Him, Jerry Donahue, and Will Ray make up the Hellcasters, and they are just ripping guitar solos after guitar solos after guitar solos. Jerry Donahue is very unique in his country music style. Very unique in his country music style, so go check it out. Steve Werner is another great country guitar chicken picker. He had a kind of his own solo artist line as well as some session work. He played on a lot of Clint Black songs. If you like Clint Black, you're going to like Steve Werner. His music, or at least his guitar playing, so go check him out. He is a fantastic chicken picker. JT Cornfloss is next, and he's probably the most unknown chicken picker on this list. He played on a lot of modern country music, a lot of the Dierks Bentley records, some Carrie Underwood records. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but his music will forever live on. And if you've never heard the name, I guarantee you've heard at least 15, 20, 30 of his songs on the record. Here are some of my favorites, but the list is so much longer. So with all this, I will leave a link to AllMusic. Type in any of these players down below at allmusic.com, and just to see what all they've been playing on. You'll be blown away. You'll be like, I had no idea that guitar player played on my favorite song or record. So go check it out. It's kind of like passing along the vinyl records or the CDs back when you were younger, maybe a younger generation, when you're listening to music, to see who all played on records. JT Cornfloss, it's incredible how much music he's played on. Marty Stewart. Marty Stewart's probably well known more so for his individual stuff, but he also played on some Johnny Cash records and some Lester Flatts records. He's an incredible picker. He's been around forever. If you haven't listened to him, I don't know where you've been. Go listen to some Marty Stewart. Tom Bukovac is one of those other modern country session players. Played on some early Taylor Swift records, some Carrie Underwood records, some Kenny Chesney records. He has a guitar channel called Echo Space Delay or Delay Space Echo. Anyways, Uncle Larry, chances are you guys know who Tom Bukovac is, but definitely go check out Tom Bukovac, his all-page music to see what all he has played on. He doesn't really talk about it a whole lot. It's more of a guitar channel, more so than the session stuff. Or at least he didn't tell commercially what songs he's playing on, but it's pretty cool to see which ones he has and how readily available and how open he is to the public to talk about his guitar playing. So go check him out. Danny Gatton is, I would say, the best country guitar picker who was never fully appreciated. Kind of like Van Gogh, where he wasn't appreciated until afterwards, and then really only the avant-garde country guitar players really see the brilliance that is Danny Gatton. I can't really say much other than like you need to hear it for yourself to experience how brilliant this man is on a Telecaster. Go check him out. Johnny Hyland is one of those other Don Kelly guitar players who is just an incredible chicken picker. He played on a few Toby Keith records and Hank 3, who's Hank Jr.'s son, Hank Williams' grandson. He plays on a lot of Hank 3 records, but Johnny Hyland can shred some country licks. Go check him out. Like Red Valkart, he has a lot of country guitar lessons on like TrueFire, stuff like that. So go check him out if you want to learn from the master himself. Steve Gibson is another prolific country guitar session player from the 70s and 80s, playing on Kenny Rogers records, Randy Travis records, and my favorite George Strait record, Clear Blue Sky. Now, Chris Lusinger is an incredible guitar player. You've probably heard of him, if not in just referencing songs, but he is Garth Brooks' guitar player, and he's played on a lot of Garth Brooks albums. He might have played on every Garth Brooks album. I'm not entirely sure, but he played on a lot of Garth Brooks albums. Anytime you hear some lead guitar playing in Garth Brooks songs, it is Chris Lusinger. He is just incredible, and he is so catchy, and the two just go hand in hand when it comes to great neo-traditional country music. Reggie Young is another legendary session guitar player, playing on Willie Nelson's records, Merle Haggard records, Kenny Rogers records, the Highwaymen record, which is, if you haven't listened to the Highwaymen, go pause this video, go listen to that entire album now because it is country gold. But if you're watching this video, chances are you've already heard it and love it. So that's all I'll say about that. Reggie Young is an incredible, fantastic guitar player who needs no introduction, maybe by name, but you've heard all of his songs. Brent Rowan is next, and he has played on some of my favorite guitar records, country records of all time. Pat Green's Wave on Wave, How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith, some Tim McGraw records. He is a great session guitar player, very, very popular in the 90s and early 2000s. I think he's still doing stuff as well, but he is an incredible session guitar player that you need to listen more of. Last but not least is Daniel Donato. Daniel Donato is very new to the scene. He is what he calls cosmic country, which is mixing in elements of jam band and classic traditional honky-tonk playing. He's an incredible guitar player. He teaches lessons over at Pickup Music, if you are a subscriber to that. I've never tried any of his lessons, but from his YouTube channel, he is an incredible teacher and even a better guitar player, so go listen to some Daniel Donato, especially if you like Fish or like Humphreys McGee. Grateful Dead, huge. He is a huge Jerry Garcia and Grateful Dead fan, so go check him out as well. Well, there you go. Those are some incredible country guitar players that you need to learn from, steal their licks, learn to incorporate how they think about playing over the changes and playing country music. Also, if you're finding yourself listening to a certain song, look up on AllMusic, see who plays it. You might find your new favorite country guitar player. Check out this video over here. It goes over literally everything, and I mean everything you need to know to make country music, from the theory, the choices, the gear, the scales, the progressions, how to strum. All of that stuff will be in this video, and I'll see you over there. And until next time, let the music play.